Well, hello friends, pro-life leader Frank Pavone here. I want to bring you my daily diary. What did I do on the days of Tuesday, November 7th, Wednesday the 8th, Thursday the 9th, Friday the 10th, and Saturday the 11th of November, 2023. Tuesday the 7th was election day for 2023. I was here in my office, started early on my emails, communication with Turning Point USA for an upcoming speaking engagement at their big conference. Press releases being approved, communication being done with pro-life leaders about the See Baby Grow app, which we are primary promoters of. Follow up with Ohio, urging people to vote pro-life. Communication with some of our key priests, Father David Begany, one of our pastoral associates. Father Dave Dybel, our canon lawyer, preparing a special letter explaining that I am indeed a Catholic in good standing. How about that? National Pro-Life Religious Council flyer, and we are with that council, that interdenominational pro-life group of which I serve as president. We're preparing a flyer offering clergy and seminarian seminars on abortion, and then approval of the newsletter for Priests for Life, the next issue of it. I had our morning staff briefing, and then at 8:40 in the morning, I had a radio interview with Jenna Ellis on American Family Radio. And then the work of the morning continued in conjunction with various staff to get out the word, last-minute efforts to get out the word about voting pro-life, meetings with staff, work at my desk, and so forth. I had a special phone meeting with some of our website and social media people at 10:40 in the morning, about a 15-20 minute meeting. Then I went into the studio here for an 11 a.m. taping with Janet, our executive director. We did a taping here for a half hour. At the end of that, then I had a meeting at 11:30 with our executive manager and our correspondence associate. We have people on staff responsible for getting the best possible answers to you if you write to us or email us or call us. Caught up back at my desk with some work, and then at 12:45 I had a call with Turning Point USA and talking about exhibiting there and speaking there in the coming month. Then I did more desk work and interaction with staff until I had to leave at 3:15. I was picked up to go to the airport. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. Went to the airport because I was flying to Detroit and then connecting from there to go to Lansing, Michigan for the March for Life of Michigan. So as usual, I did various phone calls and then work on the plane with emails. When I got to my layover in Detroit, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening, but I had a good phone interview with a reporter from the Wall Street Journal talking about potential election outcomes. So I did that phone interview there in the airport, and then proceeded to my connecting flight. Got to Lansing kind of late and settled in the hotel for the night. Meanwhile, I had pre-taped a message for our Silent No More regional coordinators who also had their monthly call that same night while I was flying in the air. So I pre-taped the message to them because I serve as pastoral director for that Silent No More campaign. Wednesday, November 8th, the day of the Michigan March for Life, got up early, had to do some email work early in the morning, following up on election results and also talking to my staff about Silent No More data issues. Then I had a radio interview that morning at 7:05 with a station in Virginia. Of course, Virginia was one of the most closely watched states for the 2023 election. So I did that radio interview, had some other email work to do, and then was picked up at 8 o'clock by Pastor Ralph Reband. Now, some of you may recognize that name. He ran for governor in Michigan last year. And he's very active in mobilizing churches for pro-life and faithful citizenship. So Pastor Ralph and his family and I had breakfast at 8 o'clock, talking about all kinds of things. And then from that breakfast meeting, we went over, and it was a cold, rainy morning, but we went over to the Michigan State Capitol building where people were beginning to gather for the march. So we intersected with a lot of friends, pro-life activists from around the state of Michigan, people I've known and that he's known for years, folks from Right to Life of Michigan, folks from other pro-life groups. I was one of the only national leaders there. These were mostly statewide leaders and activists. But we gathered there 10 a.m. For a pre-rally, 11 a.m. for the main rally. We listened to the speeches. We greeted some of the bishops that were there. We saw various other people in the media too, and so Ralph and I both got interviewed by local Michigan media standing there before the march began. And then I just intersected with all the marchers and met people along the march route. And at the point where the march concluded, had a good conversation with Barbara Listing. We've known each other for decades, Right to Life of Michigan. We've gone through all the state on various different pro-life events. So we had a nice conversation to catch up. And they did a great job organizing and co-sponsoring so much of what went on that day for the March for Life. Once we were done with the march, then I got to go back to the hotel, and I wrote an article for lifenews.com about the Michigan March for Life that had just taken place. And I sent it over to Steve Ertelt, and he posted it on lifenews.com. I got to the airport, and then I had a call with my executive team, had a call with Anthony, our vice chairman, just going over different Priests for Life things that are coming up in the near future and collaboration efforts that we have with others and so forth. Had a conversation with him, and then also a conversation with Janet, our executive director, all of this while waiting to board my flight, which I then did board, and we went from Lansing to Detroit. I had a long layover in Detroit, had some dinner there at the airport, and a chance to make more phone calls there. Hopped on the plane from Detroit back to Orlando, and that was a very late flight. We didn't land until after midnight, so I rested on that flight, got as much sleep as I could, and then back to my office, driven back to our headquarters for the evening. That was the 8th of November. On the 9th of November, I was here at my office and did some email work in regard to email blasts that are going out to our full list, in regard to booking an interview with Catholic Online, staff briefing, and many other activities with staff who are here, catching up with them. And I had to do a lot of taping too in anticipation of being away on travels. I came in here to the studio, did various tapings of scripture reflections and other programming for the coming days. That, together with work at my desk, brought me through the morning, quick lunch. At 2 o'clock, I had an interview in here with Danielle D'Souza Gill, the daughter of Dinesh D'Souza. We were together the other night at Mar-a-Lago for the Police State film premiere, which you know if you listen to these updates. So 2 o'clock, I did an interview with her for our show. Went back into my office at 3 o'clock, did another radio interview for Salem Radio News. At 3:15, I had another taping in here for our Praying for America program. That lasted about 40 minutes. At 4:30, I had another interview here for TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network, for tonight's news show, that night's news show, I should say, and we had that interview at 4:30. At 5 o'clock, I stayed in here in the studio for another hour-long interview with the Virgin Most Powerful Radio, Terry Barber. So he had me on, and we were talking about pro-life news of the day and other similar things. When I got finished with Terry, I did a little errand in town. I had to get some gas, pick up some things from the store. Came back here and was signing books. We're doing a major mailing of my book on abortion and scripture, and I signed a lot of those books from about 7:15 to about to about just a few minutes before 8, when I went into my office and got on the Zoom call with our election training volunteers from across the country. So obviously we did an update on the results of the election. It was a very good discussion, lasted over an hour, so from 8 to 9 p.m. on this Zoom call with our political action coordinator and others. When I was done with that, I got on the phone with our travel coordinator because he was working late today, and we had to talk about upcoming trips and upcoming invitations. I did a call with him and then got something very late to eat. That was the 9th of November. Friday the 10th and Saturday the 11th, I had a lot of events up and down the coast of Florida. It was really, really great. Let me walk you through what that was. At different points of the day, including before I left at 7 in the morning, we had a work on my emails having to do with upcoming advertising that Priests for Life is doing, responding to interview requests. A little more work on that letter from our canon lawyer talking about the fact that, what happened to me in regard to the priesthood doesn't mean that I'm excluded from participating in the life and work of the church, as some people have the wrong idea. And then our election website updates, of course, we communicated with our website department to keep the pages updated based on the results of the election. Then at 7 a.m., I got into the car and I started driving south of here to go to Stuart, Florida, where I had a marvelous visit with CareNet, the clinic there, pregnancy center there, headed up by Kara Gurman, who used to work at Planned Parenthood. And so I had met her previously at a CareNet conference. And so I sat down with her and 4 other members of her team there who are doing marvelous work in providing alternatives to abortion, ministering to men, providing healing after abortion. We met for a good 90 minutes altogether, took some good photos, got some video going, and gave me a tour of their pregnancy center. When I was done there, got into the car and continued to drive further south to Boca Raton. Now, on my way there, I had a phone call with Alveda King, who continues to be a member of our team, and with our vice chairman, Anthony. We had to do some work there, planning on the phone. And once I spoke to them, I also spoke to some other members of my team to move along different projects that are underway. Then I went to the headquarters of Newsmax, which is in Boca. I got there, was welcomed there, and was on one of the midday shows talking about pro-life news and the vote in Ohio and things like that. After I did my interview at Newsmax, I stopped off at a local McDonald's to get some lunch, and while there, I got on the phone with our Washington, D.C. office staff and our website, one of our website coordinators, pushing along various projects and doing some various work with them while having lunch there. And then once that was done, I continued traveling south to Fort Lauderdale and went to the D. James Kennedy Ministries at Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church. Got there around 2 o'clock, met with the pastor in his office. We've known each other, we've seen each other in different things, but we had a nice meeting, and then we went into his studio, and I was a guest on his podcast called City of God. We had a great discussion with him and one of his other team members, and we talked about a broad range of abortion-related topics. After we did that taping, I went to a local Starbucks where you could bring your laptop and just do some quiet work there. I did that. I had and then I got back on the road to travel up to Palm Beach. And while I was doing that, I was on the phone with a young Catholic leader of the group Catholics for Catholics. And he and I had a good planning conversation about some upcoming events. Then I got to Palm Beach Gardens and visited Mr. Willie Guardiola, a good local pro-life activist there. He and I had dinner in the neighborhood. We were planning some pro-life activities for the next day, and then I stayed in his guest room on his property that night, Friday night, November 10th. Next morning, we had breakfast together, and then we went over to Planned Parenthood of West Palm Beach for a prayer vigil. A bunch of pro-life activists, dozens of them, joined us there, and we had a good 2 hours of prayer and fellowship, and just people talking with me, asking me questions, praying with me, and witnessing to the public in front of that place of death. So we prayed that vigil for 2 hours that morning. When that finished, I went to lunch with Willie at one of the local Italian restaurants, got my stuff back at his place, and then drove down to Miami. So on the way there, I did a lot of phone calls and listening also to political podcasts and pro-life podcasts. And once I got down to Miami, went to another Starbucks where I was able to get some office work done on my website and just preparing for the coming week. At 7 p.m., I had dinner with a local pro-life activists of the Miami area, including parish reps, pro-life parish representatives for the Archdiocese of Miami. That was very, very nice. We had some very fruitful conversation over a good seafood dinner, and we got finished around 9 o'clock, and then I drove back up to Titusville. It was a good 3-hour drive. But on the way, I was talking with my administrative team, our executive director, one of our key administrative personnel, Mark, was on the phone with me. We were talking about the Bishop Strickland situation and how we're responding to it. We made some plans to send out a special email the next day, and we were catching up on various other important Priests for Life work there into the late hours of the night as I drove back to our headquarters in Titusville. So some very fruitful days, the 7th through the 11th of November of 2023. I love doing this work. Never do I get tired of it. I hope you never get tired of your pro-life efforts as well. I am very grateful for those efforts and very grateful for your partnership with us. Let's go onward, forward to victory. God bless you.